difficult dealing with all of the ignorance. But in the Bible, and still talking about the Bible, what is the benefit? Everything about you counterfeit, there ain't no rebuttal you can counter with. On the internet, you the master teacher, in real life, you powerless. Keep it real with you, I don't have time for this, I ride for this, my forefathers died for this. They cry for this opportunity, presently I possess, and right now you are the opposite. If you walk in love, you fulfill the law, don't get involved, and you ain't giving it all. If you ever think it's cool to threaten another man's family, then you already lost. Chemtrails got aluminum, heavy metal saturate the atmosphere. Manhattan Project, time travel, Mandela effect, what happened here? GMO food processing to the whole world become obsolete. A black man who believe in Jesus, got my own team taking shots at me. You trespassing on property that you don't fully understand properly. All the back and forth, that's not for me, that's for ROC and the War Machine. If we ride together, then we ride together. If we can't do it, I'd rather leave. I still stand on the word of God till the day I die and no longer breathe. We trapped inside the diaspora, nightmares of the massacre. Cold sweat, I'm below deck, in the middle passage, just a passenger. Revolutionary hardcore, liberation, that's a hard job. You ain't ready, you a oddball, keep your mouth closed like lockjaw. I learned trying to bring people together on the same page, make them separate. All the talk about reconciliation, when the time come, you hesitate. If Jesus was able to sit at the table with a bunch of sinners, you very fake. Your steps ordered by the Lord, and how it was yesterday, a big mistake. We the city sitting on the hill, guess it all depends on how you live. Guess it all depends on how you feel, and we both know that ain't God's will. I stood on what I felt was right, I don't never question if God's real. Trapped inside this matrix, I'm about to pop the red and the blue pill.
Bless them which persecute you, bless and curse not. Rejoice with them that do rejoice, and weep with them that weep. Be of the same mind one toward another. Mind not high things, but condescend to men of low estate. Be not wise in your own conceits. Recompense to no man evil for evil. Provide things honest in the sight of all men. If it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. Dearly beloved, avenge not yourselves, but rather give place unto wrath. For it is written, vengeance is mine, I will repay, said the Lord. Therefore, if thine enemy hunger, feed him. If he thirst, give him drink. For in so doing thou shalt heap coals of fire on his head. Be not overcome of evil, but overcome evil with good. Romans 12:14-21.
You're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not Manny. I am Peyton Manning level, I'm on GOAT status. I think I'm the baddest mother lover ever walk on this planet. Damn it, you could never see me, you could never beat me, you could never be me, disrespect me, and I'm eating all of your pizza. I know I'm not right, I know I'm not white, I know I'm gon' call the popo on you if you hit me. I don't fight, I'm a rapper, I don't write. Rio, you got all that hype, that's the stuff that I don't like. Why you laughing at my height? I wish I could slap your face. You just think you're so amazing, you just think that you're the greatest. Why you fucking Tom Brady? I am Peyton Manning, end of conversation. You just hating, I am Peyton Manning, say it. I am Peyton Manning, say it. No, Dibble God playing, that's a Drake line. Beat the midget up, that's a hate crime. Baytown zone 3 game time. Got the trunk knocking from the baseline. I'm all about the money, baby, cracker cake time. Chopsticks on deck, no Shanghai. 4-5, you come to my waistline. Keep the 4-5 tucked by my waistline. You soft in the middle like fruit pie. I know how you to walk a straight line. You wouldn't throw trays in the food fight. Hear what I heard through the grapevine. I know you don't mind wasting your time. I would just prefer you didn't waste mine. You gon' get what coming to you in due time. Little pussy cat running from the K9. You're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, you're not hating Manny, hating Manny. You ain't nowhere category. Mandatory for me to tell you that you were very boring. And the moral of the story, I wish I could just ignore you, but they gotta bury your body, put you in the crematorium. And I'm the only audio inside the auditorium. And when I'm finished with you, you will not have no memorial. You wanna be Luigi, but you're not ready for Mario. And no scenario, running circles around your cardio. And that's a body blow, it's not a secret. Everybody knew that you ain't coming close. I leave you comatose, and you become a ghost. I overdose, I gotta overload. That's when the windows of heaven open up for me with the overflow. And I can feel the power moving within every last chromosome. Battle right around the corner, you already know it's on. Understand me, you're not Peyton Manning, you're not Peyton Manning. Woo!
Peace, peace, peace. What it is your brother Tyvon Swainell, a.k.a. the Orthodox Moor, a.k.a. the Seven Pillar Saracen, a.k.a. Brother Moore, wishing you all peace and blessings. Today, I'm here to address this concept of the hypocrisy of hate and the science of this skin doctrine that is running prevalent in the community of so-called Israelites. And I'm saying so-called because I don't know of a Negro-only doctrine in the scrolls. And I definitely don't know of a skin doctrine in the scrolls. But here's what I do know, and I'm going to speak about this emphatically and clearly for a hot minute until this gets cleared up, or until it gets clearly understood that there's a line in the sand between me and mine and a whole bunch of other people. I've come out of a cult before that was dealing with the skin doctrine. Skin doctrine is a very serious concept, and cult behavior is a serious concept on top of that. And when you combine the two, fam, it's definitely no good. It's definitely no good. But right now, me and my partners in the Yap gang, shout out to Yap. They and we are being called a cult of E right now. And this concept of dealing with haplogroup E being Shem. I'm somebody who definitely says if you believe in a global flood model, the Yap model is the only model that makes sense in terms of explaining human descent via genetics, and being able to trace your lineage. It's the only model that would make sense. Now, a cult would stipulate something like, okay, without any proof, unless you're E, you can't be an Israelite. And that's not anything of the sort in terms of what Yap says. As a matter of fact, there's people in Yap that aren't even E, fam. That aren't even E. So I want to slow this conversation down because there's a lot of people listening to a lot of misinformation and don't know how to fact check it, and don't know how to slow the conversation down to understand what's being said and what's being insinuated, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So to that end, I'm going to try to slow some stuff down. I'm going to try to point a couple things out, and I'm going to address. I'm not worried about the back and forth tit for tat, like accusations like, oh, the ad hominem stuff. Like that's nonsense. That doesn't even matter, right? What matters is the principles being brought out to the people, right? So you can see in the title where I'm going to deal with this concept: is Orthodox Moor mostly European? This is a charge that was put on me by the Taylor twins and whatnot. Shout out to the Taylor twins. Some of my favorite haters. And I'm not even tripping on it, fam. Not even tripping on it. This here is a conversation about information and consistency in methodology. So Yap has a model. Yeshub came through with the model. The Hebrew Visual came through with the model. Shout out to Hebrew. James Cassell came through with the model. They all agreed on this concept of this tri-paragroup concept of in a global flood concept that you have Noah and his three sons, and that his three sons would represent the peopling of the world, etc. And that modern genetics would seem to go back to like a tri-paragroup haplogroup concept that would mirror what the Bible's looking like. So in that concept, they say that the tail twins would be Japheth based upon their haplogroup. Now, does that mean that they cannot be Israel? No, in no way, shape, or form. You hear me say all the time that you can be Israel through your mother, your father, or through sojourning. So as the Bible clearly talks about the concept of the seed of the mother and the seed of the father, that's Y DNA, that's mitochondrial DNA, and that's autosomal DNA. Y DNA through your father, mitochondrial DNA through your mother, and autosomal DNA just through sojourning. Because most likely sojourners are picking up some DNA throughout the generations or whatnot, intermarrying, etc. So there's this whole concept of you got to be one thing in order to be an Israelite is a fallacious concept to begin with. It's fallacious to begin with. So first and foremost, Yap is coming through with the model that scientifically proves what the Bible is saying via the Table of Nations with modern genetics. That's a positive thing for the Bible. And they're not doing so in an exclusionary kind of a way. Because again, nobody denies the sojourning concept. The only people who have an issue with what's being said are people on this skin doctrine on some nonsense. Because it's being pointed out, well, your father's father doesn't go back to somebody African. Now, supposedly, the tail twins have an L haplogroup in terms of the mitochondrial DNA. So their mother's mother does, right? So okay. Not that any of that matters. Not that your father going back to Africa or your mother going back to Africa matters at all in the grand scheme of anything. In terms of salvation, in terms of being an Israelite, none of that. And no one's saying that it does. I clearly came out and made that known. Yeah, it clearly says all that. So there's no supremacy in the concept of E, none of that type of stuff. Like, so for instance, like part of Yeshua's model, for instance, right? And part of Yeshua's model, he's saying that like Abraham would be EP2. People are talking about like, okay, y'all got a proclivity towards E because y'all are E. Yeah, check this out. I'm EM132, right? That means I got nothing to do with EP2 and down. I got nothing to do with them, other than the fact that I'm E. I say a million times, I don't think EM132 is an Israelite in terms of like, I don't think Abraham was EM132. I'd put my bottom dollar on the fact that I don't think that Abraham was EM132. I personally think Abraham was most likely like E1B1B. That's me. Yeshua says EP2. Other people in the app got different opinions on it. You know what we agree on? We agree on this tri-paragroup model coming off a global flood and whatnot. Even Ibri, the Hebrew of Israel, he says he doesn't understand why y'all are tripping, because supposedly y'all got a L marker, and you should be able to claim descendancy through your mother if you want to. But that's not good enough for y'all, because y'all got this concept of the Negro is true Israel. The Negro is the Israelite of the Bible, and the Negro only. And that's why this is problematic. Because people like Yeshub got no issue saying, well, yeah, well, your father's father is definitely not from direct Semitic descent, and is definitely not of an African descent. And he says it full-throatedly, yeah. That's the issue. There's this Negro purity concept, and y'all ain't pure, fam. So therefore, you got to go to extremes and whatnot. And this is where cult behavior and cult mindsets comes in. And this is where it gets dangerous, because you got to start suspending belief in sound scientific methodology in order to uphold the cult of personality that is a cult. It becomes more important to understand and to twist science in such a way to where, you know what, you can have multiple haplogroups. You can do this, you can do that, and trying to force fit and shoehorn your concept of this Negro only concept, when the reality is science backs up the same concept that the Bible talks about, that you can be Israel through your mother, your father, or through autosomal DNA. Through your mother, your father, or autosomal DNA. As a sojourner. And not just as a sojourner. I'm saying, like, you don't have to have autosomal DNA to be a sojourner. I'm just saying, like, if and this concept of autosomal Israel is hilarious to me too, because I'm hearing my brothers, the Taylor twins, talk about, like, well, haplogroups. Again, there's this flashcard that they'll connect you to Europeans as well. You can have a European with E1B1A. Yeah, just like you're gonna have like a Europeans who are autosomally Israelites as well. It's just how DNA works. You don't get to shut it off like that. Not unless you come from an extremely isolated population, of which we don't. Like, so you can see admixture in my DNA. You can see admixture in the Theotin's DNA. Neither of us come from a homogenous population or an isolated population. And that will be made evident. But we see a whole bunch of things that, like, okay, so they'll say stuff like Spain and Portugal prove their DNA, but they don't have any Spanish DNA or Portuguese DNA. I got a lot of Spanish and Portuguese DNA. But for me, that makes me European in a way that it doesn't for them, because a lot of these cats are claiming this whole, like, Sephardic Jewish concept to, like, the other real Sephardic Jews got you. That works for them, but it doesn't work for me. So there's this two-sided coin and whatnot. This double standard. Okay. The rules don't equally apply. Rules don't equally apply. Okay. Then we got this thing like, okay, so if again, the twins got this concept of you can be of the same haplogroup as Abraham or Jacob, but if you're not black, you cannot be his descendant. And then when pressed upon the concept in terms of, like, if you're mostly European, but you still have his haplogroup, then you're European. You're not an Israelite. Whatever that means, right? But then when pressed, okay, what percentage is the cutoff? Oh no, I can't tell you. I can't tell you. But with me, no. He's mostly European. He can't be an Israelite. So I'm the cutoff, family. Now I'm the cutoff. Just know that. So if Moor's the cutoff, just understand, if you're more European than me, you're not an Israelite based upon the Teo twins. If you're less sub-Saharan African than I am, you are not an Israelite based upon what the Teo twins are saying. Oh, but wait. That didn't count because, Yashar, they were going over Yashar's DNA. And Yashar is 1/3 sub-Saharan African. And he's E1B1A. And they were willing to be like, they're willing to consider him a brother still, but not me. And now we get into the reality of a cult, fam. Because it's inconsistent on the logic. And it's inconsistent based upon who agrees with who. If you agree with me, it's all gravy. If you disagree with me, oh man, reckless abandon when it comes to logic. Reckless abandon. Reckless abandon. So that's why we got to call these things out, fam. Because cult behavior is not a good thing, fam. And cult behavior when it comes to skin doctrine is very, very dangerous. Out of all the doctrines out there, skin doctrine becomes extremely dangerous. So, for instance, if you're familiar with like the ISIS papers, etc., you can see to where on a psychological level, fear of genetic annihilation can lead people to do all kind of stuff, right? And a lot of people think that this fear can only go one way from European to Afro-Asiatic people, and that's not the case. Racism and skin doctrine and genetic supremacy and all that kind of stuff can be inflicted in any direction. In any direction. And when you see it going in certain directions, you're going to see a lot of rhetoric to where someone's less than. And when you hear that consistent rhetoric of someone being less than, then they become dehumanized. When you dehumanize people, it's easy to do all kind of nonsense to them. It's easy to devalue human life. And that's why we got to nip this in the bud. With the grown-up conversation and sound methodology. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. We're going to get into this a little bit. And like I said, family, I'm the benchmark apparently, but only if you disagree. Only if you disagree that the Negro is the only true Israelite of the Bible. So let's start here, family. What if I told you saying you're a victim of racism while being racist is not helpful? The Negro-only Israelite doctrine is a skin doctrine and color doctrine, period. No ifs, ands, or buts. And people need to understand why this is an issue, because skin doctrine and color doctrine is idolatry and idolatry of the self. It's idolatry, fam. You can't show me any Negro only verses in the scrolls, fam. You can't show me none of that. You cannot. What you can show me is a nation that has sojourning laws, which means that you picked the wrong nation out of any nation in the world to use for your skin doctrine. You should have used a nation that didn't have sojourning laws. Yeah. explicitly did not have sojourning laws. But we know for a fact that Israel has sojourning laws. And we see all day, left, right, and center, that there's different nations marrying into Israel. And so we know as they're scattered, they're going to, like I consistently said, and have said a lot of places, and we'll say here again, that they started off Afro-Asiatic in their base and were scattered to the four corners of the world. And when they get gathered, will look like the four corners of the world, while still maintaining an Afro-Asiatic base to them. They're still going to look like the four corners of the world, fam. But here is some clear skin doctrine. So this is from the Tail Twins themselves. This is their description from their YouTube page. A channel about end time prophecy and information about who the true Hebrew Israelite are, who the people, we the people. Now I want you to hear this, right? Tail Ministries is not associated with any hate group, cults, or extreme religious organizations. Sounds wonderful. Tail Ministries is a teaching ministry chosen to be part of awakening the true Hebrew. I want y'all to understand this. If you hear this concept of true Israel, it means one of two things. When you hear a Christian say it, true Israel means that they're talking about like the Israelites and the church, right? All unified together in one body, right? When a lot of these cats say true Israel, in terms of like the moderates and in the camps, they're talking about just either black Israelites and the Negro only concept, or if you hear in the camp, they're going to talk about the black, Latino, and Native American, right? But in this situation, they clarify. Tail Ministries believes that the Negroes are the true biblical Israelites and that the Negro fulfills all prophecies concerning the Israelites, as well as have been authenticated through historical texts. So the true Hebrew Israelites are the Negroes here. Nobody else but. So this is from a while ago. This is from the Biblical Rumble Room. This is Jacob leaving a comment. It says, Sean Harris and the Yap crew don't even know what we believe. I talk about the assignment of clades, and they think I'm talking about the descent of haplogroups, which is hilarious. This is verifiably false. Because they were definitely teaching, and it's verifiable. Because we've gone over it in my interviews with them, and also on time with the on Brand TV, to where they were talking about the haplogroups being alphabetical. And they were saying such so they could have you believe that G came out of E, and so that G was still related to E. Which is why they beef with Yap and specifically with Yeshu, because Yeshu wasn't playing with that. And they definitely weren't vibing Ibri, because Ibri was definitely calling them out on some nonsense concerning what they were doing with that. And shout out to Ibri, man. That young man is very impressive. Very, very impressive. Not even a quarter of a century. Not even half these brothers' age. But his information is way above their heads. I had to admit too, like he gained me up on some stuff on DNA I didn't know. I got no qualms saying that young man gained me up on stuff on DNA. And if you let him, he'll game y'all up too. He's got info. He's got sources. Yeshua will do the same. This is because they all band together like a gang to lie on us. Orthodox Moor specifically lied on us. I have Orthodox lie not only on YouTube, but Facebook as well. This still has yet to be shown. If you're going to claim I'm lying about something, please show what I'm lying about. It's just a simple ask. Like, just show what I'm lying about, fam. Now you have someone like Sean, his lackey, kiss up on Orthodox because They all are probably not Israel. Orthodox admit he's mostly European. When have I ever said this? I've got more of my DNA than anybody has out there. You got my Jed match. You got all my DNA tests. You got all my autosomal DNA. When have I ever said I'm mostly European? When am my DNA tests showing I'm mostly European? This appears to have been a well-coordinated attack orchestrated by Abu, Berin, and Orthodox. First, Abu draws us in on Berin TV by lying on us, and now they plan a follow-up. So we planned on Abu drawing in Tayin Yakoba, but knowing they couldn't resist Abu saying something. So apparently we banked on the fact that they have no self-control, and we colluded together to make them come out and have a conversation they didn't want to have. The Yap group is scheming along with some foolish Israelites who are too dumb to realize they are being used. Okay. Let's see how intelligent the crowd is. So let's see if my DNA shows that I'm mostly European. And let's see what it says in comparison, etc. And let's just see how this shakes out. Here we go. My observation over the past year concerning Abu, Orthodox Moor, and Berin. Abu is a non-black who, for some reason, has become obsessed with activity of those of us who call ourselves Israel. When Pastor Kelly mentioned his family history concerning the pews, Abu took it upon himself to try and discredit the information. Every move by Abu has been to attack leaders in the community. Berin has moved like an informant who has used his platform to attack our community. Although he says that he is for truth, he has allowed people like Abu to use his platform like a weapon against our community. Once the Pew issue died down, Abu moved his attention towards discrediting our Israelite claims concerning DNA. Although Abu is not a black man, he has followed our community like a predator, lurking to devour. Now for Orthodox Moor has embedded himself into our community as he claims to be an Israelite. He has a high level of European in himself, yet claims to be Israel. One more time. Orthodox has a high level of European in himself, yet claims to be Israel. So having a high level of European can eliminate you from being Israel, or it puts a question mark on your claim. And so we're going to see what a high level of European means based upon my DNA and based upon the twins' DNA. Orthodox Moor has aligned himself with Abu, a person working to cause confusion and disunity among our people. Orthodox Moor has doubled down on his support of Abu and has himself claimed to be an enemy of Pastor Kelly and of Benaiah Israel, although Pastor Kelly and Benaiah have never mentioned his name, which is false. And I've never claimed to be an enemy of theirs. Orthodox Moor moves like an agent along with his co-conspirator Abu. Now I want y'all to pay attention to this, right? So literally in the documentary that I talk about Pastor Kelly and Benaiah, like where I critique their information, where they put out false information and that they know it's false. Part of what they speak about in that same documentary is that haplogroup E1B1A is the Israelite haplogroup, is the Israelite haplogroup. Benaiah specifically keeps talking about that, about the DNA of Judah, etc. But tell you got no smoke for them. Now watch the cult mindset. Watch the Jedi mind trick. Benaiah's good money. He's part the crew. He's part the get money crew, split them up crew, right? Got you. Okay. But Benaiah's pushing E1B1A is the Israelite thing hard. Rocking with the Ron Daltons of the world, rocking with the Hebrew Nation building people, you know what I'm saying? Rocking with this joint hard and heavy. And Taylor got nothing to say about it. He's defending them. But Yap Gang is saying Shem is haplogroup E. Shem is haplogroup E. Something that has a decent argument in terms of a scientific basis. In terms of E1B1A being an Israelite haplogroup, we don't have a body yet. And people like Benaiah them are stretching credulity to stipulate that E1B1A is an Israelite haplogroup. He's making an argument. I'll give him that. But it stretches credulity. Because we don't have the DNA of a patriarch yet. But again, Benaiah's good money. He's worth defending. He's part of the squad. He's pushing E1B1A cold like there's no tomorrow. E1B1A is getting pushed in the documentaries, all that kind of stuff. But it's Yap that's the code. Just remember that, fam. Benaiah doesn't disagree with Yap in the sense toward that G2A4 is not part of a Semitic population. Now, where we're going to differ is Yap is going to say that G2A4 can still be Israel via sojourning. And that they would still be a 100% Israelite. And that their haplogroups would be part of the mixed multitude of national Israel. Would Benaiah say that? Would Benaiah say that? So again, Teo Ministries believes that the Negroes are the true biblical Israelites, and that the Negro fulfills all prophecies concerning the Israelites, as well as have been authenticated through historical text. Negro only doctrine, point blank. Just say it with your chest, like Ashonda says. Let everyone know you got a Negro only doctrine. Just say it with your chest. This is what I can respect about the camps. The camps at least let you know what time it is with their beliefs and with their extreme beliefs. They're not going to try to make you feel like they're something other than what they are. They're going to be rough, rugged, and raw so you can understand who and what they are. They're not going to try to make you think that they're all buddy-buddy, which you know. If you got a Negro-only doctrine, let people know you got one, fam. Now watch this. Now you have someone like Sean, his lackey, kiss up on Orthodox because they are probably not Israel. Based upon what? It definitely ain't autosomal DNA. Because you're about to see my autosomal DNA. Because again, for Teo and them, they consider Israel equatable to having sub-Saharan DNA and coming across via the slave trade. And so this is what Yap points out. Is like my father's people were involved with coming across on that slave trade. My father's people did come across on slave ships. Teo's didn't. Is that anything to be ashamed of? No. Should that humble you out a little bit on some Negro-only stuff? Yeah, it really should. It really should. It really should. Again, Orthodox has a high level of European in himself, yet claims to be Israel. Being European can negate one being Israel, yet no threshold is given, family. But I'm the threshold. Here's the real threshold. The threshold is you disagree with me. If you disagree with me, you can't be Israel. You know, you might even be Black Esau. How about that? They'll flip it any kind of way they want to, fam. If you agree with me, you're all good. If you disagree with me, nah, fam. Nah. Even with Benaiah, then. As long as you agree, as long as you agree that you got to be Black to be an Israelite, we can agree to disagree on the haplogroup thing. That's what they're really telling you, fam. That's the concept of the skin doctrine. It has you having this inconsistent methodology and logic. Abu is not black. More likely Esau running amok, which is hilarious because the twins claim to be red like David. They claim to be ruddy. Not too different from Esau, yeah. The twins don't claim to be dark skinned. Anyway, like I said, here's some of the hypocrisy of hate and science of the skin doctrine they be trying to map out for people. I'll be addressing this going forward bit by bit. I won't do all these here, but they talk about haplogroup hypocrisy, talking about you can have more than one Y DNA. It's madness, family. You cannot. And when you compare their DNA, family, when they try to give you that multiple Y DNA concept, they're still mostly not E. They're still mostly not what the majority of people coming off the slave ships were. Again, does that matter in the grand scheme of things? No, it only matters to a purist with the skin doctrine, of which I'm not. But the hypocrisy got to get pointed out. Again, haplogroup hypocrisy. Haplogroups are in alphabetical order so that G would falsely come out of E, like EFG, and that's not how it works. One more time with the haplogroup hypocrisy. Haplogroups will connect you with white Europeans that have the same haplotype. However, autosomal DNA will not. And nothing, again, you're going to see here, and I'm going to challenge the twins to prove me wrong. I'm going to show you where they're connected, where autosomally they're connected to Ashkenazi Jews. Autosomally. And how, or at least that's how Jed Match is reading it out. Skin doctrine scenario. If Abraham was black, then his descendants must also stay black in order to be Israel. That doesn't make any sense. And let's try to clean it up by saying, well, no, we just mean like if you're mostly autosomally African, you're not African. So if you're mostly autosomally European, then you're not Israelite. Well, no, that don't make no sense, fam. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. There's nobody. So you cannot guarantee that your descendants will always stay the same color you are. You cannot guarantee that in any way, shape, or form, particularly in a nation that has sojourning laws, man. And in a nation to where there's consistent intermarrying. There's this hypocrisy on the concept. We got G2A4 where black Israelites in Europe and in the Levant. When I heard him talking about that, I was like, okay, this got to be addressed. Because this, along with the EFG concept, like for people who don't know any better, and it's sad that I gotta say, but they can get gamed up on it. And like I said, last but not least, the Yap Gang is a cult of E, but there's no smoke for Benai Israel. None. And again, Benai is out there saying E1B1A is definitely the Israelite haplogroup. And definitely claiming Judah with it. So this is your boy. This is me a little over a decade ago. You can see me in the northwest weather on the left. You can see me in the southwest weather in the middle. And you can see what's under my head wrap on the right. You're not going to see this from Tayyip Yaakov. You're not going to see none of this. On the left is my father. Shout out to the good man. Happy and tired on the night of my birth. And on the right, you see my grandfather from my mother's side, my mother's father, my grandfather. Shout out to my pompo. Both of these men have E haplogroups. My father has EM132/EM33, and my grandfather on the right has EM34. Now, what's interesting is that the Teo twins would have you believe this, that the man on the right is 100% Israel. As an Ethiopian Jew. Ethiopian Jews carry EM34 just like Sephardic Jews, just like North African Jews, just like Ashkenazi Jews, etc. However, my grandfather, whose son tests with Sephardic Maghrebi DNA autosomally, and is also EM34, is not an Israelite. Now, their DNA has Middle East DNA, North African DNA, East African DNA, Mediterranean DNA, Levantine DNA. But apparently they're not, my grandfather, my mother, their sons can't be Israelites because they don't look like the brother on the right. Even though they have the same paternal ancestry, they both share the same paternal haplogroup. This is clear skin doctrine, fam. And you can hear this verified in my interviews with Tay and Yacoba on my channel. They're saying that this is a problem. That Abraham started off looking like this. And if you end up looking like this, you can't be related to Israel. You're not him. You're something else now. That's not how genetics works. That's not how haplogroups work. And the cold part is on an autosomal level, my grandfather's still connected to East Africa. But are you going to look at my grandfather and say, oh, yeah, your genetics say East African? No. And that's why this skin doctrine don't make no sense. Right? We got Israelites, prominent Israelites in the community right now with the same paternal ancestry through this same haplogroup. Tay and Yacoba's people. Shout out to Dante. Dante and this man can be an Israelite based upon them, but my grandfather can't. Now here's the cold part. My grandfather, my mother, my uncle, myself, all closer to Ethiopian Jews in GEDmatch than all these cats. Anybody in their Get Money crew. Than all of them. Me, because of my grandfather, right? And my own father. I'm closer to Ethiopian Jews than Dante, who has a subclade of this haplogroup right here. And I'm not even EM34. I'm autosomally connected to EM34. And watch this. I got no issue saying I'm autosomally connected to Ethiopian Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, North African Jews, Sephardic Jews, Mizrahi Jews that have EM34. No issue with that whatsoever. None whatsoever. Because I'm not a racist and I don't have skin doctrine. I don't have a skin doctrine. So this is Yacoba's DNA, right? So I want y'all to do the math on this. He's 14% England, Northwestern Europe. 5% Ireland, so we're at 19%. Sweden, 21%. Norway, with an extra 2%. Now we're at 23%. So roughly 1/5 to 1/4 Western European. No Spain, no Portugal, no Southern European, nothing like that. It's all Western European. And Northwestern European at that. So English, Irish, and Scandinavian, basically, right? Tay won't even show his European admixture. But Tay 73% sub-Saharan African. When you do the math on Jacoby, he's roughly 77% there. So they average out, okay, 75%. And so I'm saying, okay, 75% sub-Saharan African or 75% African, however you want to look at it. And 1/5 to 1/4 Western European. And I got this wrong. His Western European is 23%. But you get the drift, man. So yeah, roughly 75%, 1/4, and 1 to 4% Native American potentially, right? And we know that they're G2A4. Don't know what the mitochondrial DNA is. I'm assuming it's L. I don't know what it is for certain. It could be something else other than L. It could be a Native American one like I have, etc. Don't know. Don't know. But now we're going to get into me, fam. So I've taken multiple DNA tests. And so I'm going to show you my breakdown. So you see here that I am 46.3% sub-Saharan African. And you can see all that breakdown there. And as of recently, as you've seen in my videos, that 28% Nigerian has been broken down into Igbo and to Yoruba descent. Shout out to my Igbo and Yoruba peoples. And then we drop into the European, which is 38.1%, of which it says 36.5% is Southern European. And this is against my 23andMe. So 38% European here, right? That's not the majority. The majority is sub-Saharan African. So in total African, again, I get 0.5. I get now I get Arab, Egyptian 11 with Egyptian there. So it still puts me like at 46, almost 47% sub-Saharan African. Now of my European, again, it's saying 36.4% is Spanish and Portuguese. So this is where it starts to get funny. Like, so most of my European DNA is going to be Iberian. The vast majority is going to be Iberian, with overlaps with North Africa, etc., which you're going to see. So hold on real quick, family. You okay? Okay. So yeah, so 36.4% Spanish and Portuguese. And so for people like Benaya, people like Dante, people like Tay and Yacob, they're talking about Spanish and Portuguese proves the thing. So this should be like basically equated with my African DNA as far as I understand, right? In terms of overlap. So that should be putting me at like what, 82% there? In this breakdown. It says I'm broadly Southern European 0.1%, Northwestern European 0.2%, British and Irish 0.2%, Ashkenazi Jewish 0.1%, Broadly European 1.3%. So broadly European 1.3%, Northwestern European 0.2%. So I'm less than 2% like Western European. I'm the vast majority Southern European on this. So y'all let me know, where does the Southern European go? Where does the Spain and Portugal go for me? Do I put that in the Israelite box or no? Native American, right? East Asian indigenous, 14.2%. This is consistent with my background. Indigenous American, 13%, etc. Y'all see what it is there. This is my actual map. So let me go forward. This looks to be my family tree DNA. So you see here, again, my sub-Saharan African is 44%. That's my highest one. My sub-Saharan African is always my highest one, my highest admixture. You saw my father. So you see here my West African, Nigerian 16%, Ghana, Togo, Benin 15%, Guinea, Sierra Leone 6%, etc. Southern Congo Basin 3%, Western Lake Victoria Basin 3%. Here it gets interesting. I got Horn of Africa, little under 2%. Little under 2% there. And it gets even more interesting because here in Family Tree, they threw my Spanish DNA, my Iberian DNA into North Africa, into the North Africa, Middle East. So typically where it would give me something like in the 20s or 30s in Europe or in Iberia, they gave me 23% in North Africa, Middle East. So it's almost like they were giving me my like the origin of my Iberian DNA coming from North Africa, etc. And the same here with the Ethiopian. So again, I'm positing I get this here from my mother and not from my father. My mother and my uncle both, when they tested, they got somewhere around 3% DNA from the Middle East, on top of having North African DNA, on top of having Mediterranean DNA, right? And so if you cut that 3% in half, that should be like 1.5%, etc., right? So that's less than 2%. So it makes a lot of sense that they're connecting the origin of that Middle Eastern stuff, like a Yemeni, etc., like to like Eritrea, northern Ethiopia, and Somalia. And again, my grandfather has. There's two pockets. There's two huge pockets of like the EM34, etc. You're gonna find it in the Levant. You're gonna find another in like Ethiopia, Yemen, Oman, etc. So it's not. When you understand the migration patterns of North Africa and people going to North Africa from Yemen, etc., and also into Spain from the same, having Eritrean, Northern Ethiopian, and Somalian DNA is not unheard of for those of North African and Iberian descent. Going for. Let me go back right quick. Again, you can see my European DNA here is at 21%. And in my family tree, again, this is where it gets really mostly. It's interesting because you get to see the European admixtures that go into the Iberian Peninsula, which I think is extremely interesting. This is the only test where I come up East Slavic in any way, shape, or form. But I definitely I thought that was interesting. Again, 11% Americas, 2%, less than 2% Asia, that less than 2% being Southern Siberian, which is definitely genetically connected to the Americas, etc. And also me having a Native American maternal haplogroup, A2G. This is my map from the family tree. So this is my heritage. So this is, you can see here in Africa. We'll just deal with the sub-Saharan African right quick. You can see that I got 25.1% in Nigeria, 11% in Kenya. So right there, I'm at 36%. I'm going to drop down to Sierra Leone, and we're going to see at 7.3. That puts me at 43, roughly 43.5% sub-Saharan African there. Then there's 8.8% North African on top of that. So that's all in my African admixture there, right? So that puts me at 51, 52% there. Totally of African there in total. Then in Europe, it gives me Iberian at 24%, Baltic at 1.1, so that's 25%. Irish, Scottish, and Welsh at 1.1, so I'm at 26.2% there. So out of my 26.2% being European, again, majoritively Iberian, Spanish and Portuguese, 24%. So the question becomes, where does that go, fam? Where do we put that? Because if it's Benaya and Tayo talking about it, Tayo Yako talking about it, it's all gravy. That's Israelite. Now, in the cult in the cult mindset, I'm assuming that goes in the opposite box for me because I disagree with people. Again, we see here, this is my highest admixture of Native American, where it shows that 18.5% Mesoamerican and Andean, 1.2% Native American, and then 1.9% Central Asian. And so when you do the numbers on this, fam, I average out 44.56% Sub-Saharan African, 11.11% North African. So that's what puts me at 55% African right there on average. And on average, I'm 28.43% European, of which is 20% Iberian, Spain and Portugal. Again, the rest 16%, 16.6% Indigenous American and Asian, etc. But again, so 44% Sub-Saharan African, 11.11% North African, and again 20% Iberian. So that makes me less. So 8% Western European, Northwestern European. If you add up the Iberian, the North African, and the South, the Sub-Saharan African together, that puts me at 75%, don't it? Looking no different than the Tayo twins. And it actually makes it to where they're more Western European than I am by at least a good 12, 15%. So where am I mostly European in any of this? First and foremost, where am I mostly European? Show me that. Show me where my numbers say that. Show me where I've ever said that. And second of all, show me where it would even matter. Show me where it would even matter. This is my Y DNA, EM132. This is my mtDNA, A2G. We can find out who's connected with that. And on another video, I'm going to run through that because they said that you can't find out, you can't trace yourself back to a people using haplogroups. And nothing could be further from the truth. But this is what I want to understand, fam. Like, so this is what I'm talking about with the cult of personality, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the cult mindset is they'll put out a video. They'll swear that they haven't been talking about DNA in over a year, even though they were on my channel talking about DNA a couple of times, even though they just put out a couple months ago, 3 months ago, a video talking about Spain and Portugal. DNA confirms our history. So they definitely were talking about DNA, but let's look at this. How does Spain and Portugal confirm your history when you don't have any Spanish or Portuguese DNA? Yet it confirms your history. So if it confirms your history, it confirms mine then, right? So is Spanish European or no? Y'all got to tell me, fam. Y'all got to break that down. Where do you put it? But again, this is y'all's. This is the Tail Twins Jet match. And what my Jet match shows is, again, I'm connected to the Lemba, the Bantu, Ethiopian, Lumbi, Moroccan, Ethiopian Jew, just like they are. I'm just closer to all of it, minus the Bantu and the Lemba Jew. My first sub-Saharan African is Ethiopian. Then I go to Lemba. Then I go to Ethiopian Jew, etc. Now, I want y'all to see something, right? I want y'all to see how these numbers go down to 19 and they both stop on Algerian Jew. This is the MDLP World project. I'm going to show you my MDLP World and my MDLP World 22. And you're going to see how it goes down to 20 on both of them. And you're going to see why they cut off the 20th one, fam. These are the same people that fabricate book passages, the same people who fabricate maps, same people who fabricate text message, all that type of stuff, fam. And they're wanting you to look at this thing and not catch that they cut off the 20th place on here. I'm going to show you what my DNA looks like, and I'm going to show you exactly what they cut off, fam. Here's my Jet match results from the same projects. From on the left is the MDLP World, on the right is MDLP World 22. So we see going down 19. I'm right there with them with the Algerian Jew. And what's there on 20 for me? Ashkenazim. And I got it there on 16. Just like I got it there on 18 for in my MDLP World 22, and just like I got Moroccan Jew. So what's this saying? I'm connected to Ethiopian Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, and North African Jews. Just like I should expect to be having a grandfather who's EM34. Knowing that EM34 is connected to Ethiopian Jews, Ashkenazi Jews, North African Jews, etc. Sephardic Jews, etc. That shouldn't surprise me at all. Again, connected to the Lemba, Moroccan, Mozabite, that's Berber, Puerto Rican, Yemen, Ethiopian Jew, again, at closer distances. Bantu as well. And when you go into my African onlys, my number one joint comes out as Fulani, consistent with my haplogroup, EM132. Consistent with that haplogroup. Again, this is why I should have no issue connecting autosomally to people with EM1 or EM34 who are Ashkenazi, North African, and Ethiopian Jews. Because there's a pocket here of EM34. There's a pocket down here of EM34. You see it amongst the Sephardic and North African Jews, and the Sephardic dispersed to the Ashkenazi and other part in Mizrahi parts of the world. And so I should expect to see autosomal connection to these people if my grandfather's haplogroup is amongst these people in some way, shape, or form. It shouldn't be if I see it there, I shouldn't be surprised. I shouldn't automatically expect it, but if I see it, I shouldn't be surprised. Particularly with the Sephardic expulsion and whatnot, and their migrations into Europe and into Western Asia. So I'm just saying we got to pause, fam. We definitely got to pause. We got to slow things down. And we got to really examine things, because again, the cult mindset will make you miss things, fam. Specifically, the cult mindset is there to discourage people from thinking independently, to be told what to think. That's what the cult mindset encourages. They want you to be told what to think, not taught how to think, told what to think. So with that, obviously, I'm not mostly European. And it wouldn't even matter if I was. But here's what you're not going to see. You're not going to see all of the twins' DNA like you've seen of mine. You're not going to see all their GED match like you've seen of mine. They're going to hide the 20th place. Like, oh, don't show them Ashkenazi, because we can't autosomally connect to Ashkenazi. Even though we're G2A4 and got 20+% Western European DNA. There's no point being ashamed of it, fam. Just is, you come from who you come from. And here's the beautiful thing about Israel, fam. You can come from anybody in Sojourn. Anybody in Sojourn. There's no one denied that place. So stop acting like someone's trying to deny you a spot in Israel, fam. When you're trying to tell people left, right, and center they can't be. On some straight supremacy type stuff. Y'all are some straight supremacists, fam. With a skin doctrine, and you can't back it up. And you won't do it on the clock. So the best you got is ad hominems, right? So, okay. So right off rip, you're starting with a fallacious conversation. And at this juncture, I recognize a lot of people that follow you want to be deceived, right? They want confirmation bias. They want to hear good news about their bad habits. Cool. I'm not tripping on that, right? But for everybody who's honestly listening, trying to understand who they are, where they come from, etc., DNA works in a very particular way, and it will help you understand your migration patterns, where you come from, etc., etc., etc. Does that mean anything for salvation? Absolutely not. But for people who descend from the slave trade, it's okay to want to know where you come from. It's completely okay to want to know where you come from. It's okay to want to connect to those cultures from where you come from. And let's say those cultures connect you to an Israelite culture. It's completely okay to want to connect to that too. Just like if you were Irish, Italian, German, what have you. That's not an issue. And if it is an issue, if someone's making it an issue, that means they got their own version of a doctrine similar to a skin doctrine or a supremacy doctrine. Because it shouldn't make anybody uncomfortable that you, having gone through a slave trade, want to go connect to the people you come from and practice your culture. But with that, fam, I'm going to get off my soapbox. I'm going to piece this out little bit by little bit. Stay tuned for a couple of the presentations where I respectfully try to get it at Garfield and Rob Bourne and Brother Reggie a little bit, you know what I'm saying? And try to put some information on the table concerning some stuff coming out of West Africa. And shout out to Garfield, because I got to watch his interview today with an Islamic scholar from West Africa. And Garfield actually, he literally texted me to if I had some questions for the brother, and I shot some questions at him, and he asked the brother. So I will definitely be going over those answers and how they apply to my concepts of West Africa, and Israelite culture, Hebrew culture, etc., and identity. So with that, hold on, let me see what's going on here. Oh man, shout out to the Yap family. Y'all know what it is. Shout out to Abu in the chat. I see you, fam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Y'all know what it is. But with that, fam, I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Hope y'all caught something that was edifying. And again, understand this isn't a beef thing just because I disagree with these people on the genetic concept. I disagree with them on salvation. Well, not salvation. I disagree with them in terms of nationalism as well. I disagree with them in terms of eschatology, right? Am I beefing with them? No. No way, shape, or form. I would sit down and have a cordial conversation with Teddy and Yacoba, Dante, Benaya, Pastor Kelly about any of these topics that we disagree on. Just like I would sit down and have a cordial conversation with a Christian about any topic I disagree with them on. Amaji, I see you. I see you. Oh. But with that, family, I hope y'all have a good one. And with that, I say peace and love.
I like the way this feel, yeah. Let my soul cry, yeah, yeah, yeah. Minister, we gonna speak from the heart on this one. I'm performing lyrical funerals, no obituary. I killed your boy and brought him back to life, pet cemetery. My anointing not based on attendance at a seminary. Scarlet witches, they attracted to the visionary. Everywhere I go, I bring the word with me, missionary. Soldier drafted in the war machine, military. Pay attention, what I'm saying to you, legendary. You got the demeanor of a front desk secretary. That mean you take the calls, but you don't make the calls. That's why you hate, cause ain't nothing fake about me at all. Now I dare you try to say that with a straight face. My delivery in tip-top great shape. I'm too advanced for you, light years, space age. No evolution for you cavemen, stone age. I'm a thoroughbred, rock solid. I came from the bottom to the top, rock climbing. I grew up in the hood, pros and cons. That's that full court pressure when the amalanche roll out that stretch. Why can't you see it's not logical? And you live diabolical. Boy, your point of view smaller than the hair follicle molecule. This for all of them that follow you, smoking all of them barbecue. When I pull up, your voice on correct itself with no auto-tune. I got a whole nother level that I can enter whenever I gotta deal with the devil. I pick a whole nother method. I hear a whole lot of yapping. They wanna see my reaction. Really out here in the community making it happen. I don't really think they understand the dilemma. They ain't looking at the man in the mirror. I can't say it any clearer. The plan is very simple. It's time to start playing in the temple. Before somebody come and put the can on your temple. Reaching like a baby with his hand for the nipple. The Grand Reaper coming with his hand on the sickle. In the van coming with a ram with the van coming get him. I am so glad that I changed up. Made it out of where I came from. Watch for the slide and the hook of the slow ball, fastball, and that change up. That ghetto lifestyle, it changed us. Go back to visit, it ain't changed much. Only difference is now the way that my brain process information. And Satan, but after my license, day one, let me say something. Only reason that I'm still alive today because God's grace is amazing. Just another raisin in the sun. Dream deferred when things occur. Now you getting served right on the curb like a lemonade stand. I just gave you the benediction, let the whole church say amen.